to really think very critically about different measures, to contemplate the unmeasurable. Let's do that. I know we've been talking about tools and metrics and all the rest of it. Let's really think about the unmeasurable. And let's reflect critically and imaginatively. We've got lots of time, which is nice, because we very rarely do. So this is the structure. This introduction, this is me now. Then there'll be small group. And then some plenary discussion. And I've published examples. In other words, if we get stuck, if we run out of time, we can tell you what Iona and I found when we started looking up the literature. But we don't have to do that. It might be better if we didn't run out of time. I mean, if we did run out of time, if you see what I mean. So just very briefly, this all started when I was asked by the King's Fund to look at measuring quality in the therapeutic relationship, and I said, I can't do this on my own. Can I bring Iona in? So we then joined forces and wrote these 2 papers. It's really 1 paper, but because of the word limits of quality and safety, I'll go ahead and cut it in 2. And we struggled writing these, didn't we? We really struggled because the brief was to produce metrics. That was the whole point of the exercise, was to produce metrics and ways of measuring quality. But there was something that we felt was unmeasurable. But if we walked away from this project, partly we were getting paid for it, so we didn't want to walk away from it, but also they'd bring in, paid for performance, they'd bring in some other idiot who'd come along with a very simplistic and facile questionnaire or tick box or something. So we thought, even if we can't make a perfect job, it would be better than walking away from it. So we feel slightly ambivalent about the way it's turned out, because they edited out things that we wanted to stay in, you know, the kind of thing. Okay, so that's how this started, and then Tina got wind of it and said, we'll come and do a workshop. I think this is the only slide I'm going to show you. Look, there's lots of things here. Up on the top left, the general practice assessment questionnaire. I've been sent this as a patient to fill in, because it gets sent to lots and lots of people, random samples. And it goes on, you know, when you last went to a doctor, did they say hello to you with a smile, this kind of thing. Then the top right, I put this in my appraisal portfolio. This was written unsolicited in the book in our practice. It's the only one I had in the year, so and obviously not so good. But it was a letter from a patient who was very pleased with and it was a bit weird really, because I'm rubbish at dermatology. I obviously managed to make this person's rash better, and they're very happy, so they wrote it. And that, I wouldn't have known about that, but one of the partners in the practice photocopied it and put it in my tray and said, you must keep this for your appraisal. And so scanned it in, and that's why I had it on my computer. And then when I was making this slide, I thought, oh yeah, I'll put that. But sort of seriously, there's a lot of informal stuff when the patient brings you a plant or a bottle of whiskey or whatever. Thank you very much. Let's think about those little things. There's this book by John Berger, Berger, and the photographer who I always forget, John, thank you, where he describes in a beautiful narrative what it is to be a family doctor, our own reflections and how we share them. Then, well, there's Freud. I put him up there because of all the kind of psychosomatic, psychoanalytic stuff that we sometimes, even these days, get together and talk about. And then I put choice. Can't do this without choice. We have this website now, NHS Choices, and all this business of it's really a market, and if you're very good, then people will come register you. If you're no good, they'll go down the road. So, I mean, this was just a pastiche of different things to get you started, really. And you might want to say, all those load rubbish. There's better ways of measuring quality. That's not the way I measure quality. I want someone to measure the quality of my relationships with my patients. Fine. This guy, Tony Delmoff, was deputy editor of the British Medical Journal. Wasn't he writing this about you, Lion?
I suspect so.
I think he was. You certainly responded, because that's how I found this fabulous quote. Is it wise to defend primary care solely by invoking its warm, fuzzy heart, beating away in its black box, far from the close scrutiny of all but its adepts? Tony once said to me that he'd only spent one day in general practice as a medical student and never understood it. But that is the guys, he represents something very important. He represents the guys who say if we can't measure it, it doesn't exist, and we're going to ridicule it and dismiss it, and we won't remunerate it. And this one I just put up, I haven't got all these quotes, I just got these two. This was the problem with questionnaires, patient surveys, and they tick the box and add them up and they produce all this psychometric rigour. But in the end, is it valid? Is it actually measuring what you want it to measure? Or is it measuring something a little bit different? I won't read it out. But if it's measuring depth of relationship by the doctor appears to know that, it's not quite matching. And it would be good to just talk about that and think about whether we agree with it or not. So, I've increased the amount of time for that now, haven't I? It just goes to show. In other words, if we can keep going for 40 minutes, that's fine. If we can't, then we can fill it with some of the stuff that we looked up in the literature. So, here's the task. To briefly share some stories of good therapeutic relationships. Let's start with some data. Let's start with some real relationships that have gone well. Share examples of approaches or instruments which you actually use, or have used, or planning to use to assess the quality. Or maybe you don't do it at all, but someone in the group maybe will. And then reduce these, because I think what will happen is there'll be some things that are suitable for some aspects and others that are suitable for others. The task is to reduce them to 3. I don't know whether this will work. Each of which is best suited for a different purpose. And then assign someone to report back, but very, very briefly, not the detail of what you've come up with, but maybe just a few highlight points that you'd like to discuss. Is that okay?
How you yourselves would like to be assessed. How you yourselves would like to be assessed in your professional work in terms of the relationship, not what you would like to inflict on other people, which is a professional activity that I would like to support.
Some question. Therapeutic relationship, is this meant as professional relationship or as effective relationship?
If we call it a therapeutic relationship, we're really investing with that notion of a healing relationship. So there's something about the relationship that is also part of making the patient feel better. John Howie would have called it enablement. So the patient is better able to cope with their condition following the consultation. So, but it's more than either of the two things you said. Is that clear? Okay, do we have obvious groups?
Yeah, I think we need to bring...
I think probably the 2 back tables need to combine. And then we've got 5 groups. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah?
We can have more here, there's only 4.
There's only 4 here. So redistribute yourselves as you like. And what did you say for 20 minutes for the first bit, wasn't it?
No, I think 40.
No, but that included your plenary. There's the group and then there's plenary.
We've got an hour and a half. So let's see how you're going after half an hour. We'll see how it goes. Okay?
This is new knowledge. It's Trisha's next paper.
Thinking about last page. So what I can think of is that
when I have a patient in which I know that I am personally involved and I can bring things of me personally, and I don't mean details from my home, my ideas, my feeling, my emotions into the discussion, and take those of the patients as well and bring them to one level, so that we exchange our ideas and in a personal way. That makes me feel I have done. It gives me the idea that I've done a good job. And I have the impression patients also like it. And I remember that I'm now working for about 12-13 years at EQuiP. In the beginning I was very much in protocols. I said protocols said this, so this is one of them. And I'm now more, I'm still know the protocols are there, and I don't neglect them, but the way that I deal with this is more personal, more emotional. For me that's value. So how to measure this? No, I think it's not possible. But that's the story.
I think one of the examples I would give is the number of times that we send patients to specialists. And the specialists recommend drug X or drug Y, and they will not start taking the drug until they come back to us. As the family doctor will say, the specialist said I should take this drug, do you agree? And that shows the trust that they have in us. Because we've initiated the referral, but it doesn't matter, and we've said who to go to because we trust that doctor, but they still come back to us and ask us, do you agree with what he says, and should I do it? That's something that's very special.
Important example. I had the same experience just a couple of weeks ago with the same. And the question was whether to operate her, which would be quite difficult or not. And she came back, and I was really feeling great that she came back. But I think, especially in the German system, we don't have a gatekeeper. And if the patients don't want to go to every specialist they want, and they do it sometimes, just one after the other. If they come back, then without a need, they can go to another specialist as well and ask for a second, third, or whatever. If they come back and ask for your opinion, how would you judge this situation, or would you also recommend it? That's a great feeling. It's a very positive feedback.
So did you say yes or no?
It's not clear yet. We wait for another second opinion because it's not clear if she would profit from it, but on the other side, the
question is maybe,